Explosive. Kateka claims HH will only win through election rigging in 2026 Zambian politics. Tonight, political temperatures have spiked after Saboi Imboela, popularly known as Kateka, issued one of the most explosive claims of the year. HH can only win next year's election through rigging. This statement has sent shockwaves across Zambia's political landscape. Is Kateka exposing a real threat to electoral integrity? Or is this a strategic political attack designed to influence public perception ahead of 2026? Why now? What evidence, if any, does she present? And how is State House reacting? Stay with me, because what unfolds next reveals far more than a simple accusation. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. Well, we've had quite an eventful week here in Zambia, and the political temperature is rising as we approach 2026. But today, we bring you a story that cuts to the very heart of Zambian democracy. A story of accusations, constitutional battles, and questions about the integrity of the upcoming election. Picture this: a nation standing at the crossroads of its democratic future. A president who swept into power on promises of transparency and fairness, now facing explosive allegations from within the opposition ranks. The charge: that the 2026 election is being systematically rigged before a single ballot is cast. What happens when the leader of a political party stands before the nation and declares that the incumbent president cannot win fairly? What does it mean when opposition voices claim the playing field is being tilted, skewed, manipulated beyond recognition? When they say that constitutional amendments, electoral commission appointments, and the very rules of democratic engagement are being rewritten to favor one side? Is this the desperate cry of a losing opposition, or is there substance beneath the smoke? Are we witnessing the calculated consolidation of power, or simply the normal friction of competitive politics? And most critically, when a former presidential candidate looks into the camera and says, "In a level playing field, Hakainde stands no chance of winning these elections," what evidence supports such a damning claim? Can a democracy survive when opposition parties lose faith in the referee? When the rules change mid-game? When the very institutions meant to guarantee fairness are questioned by those competing for power? The stakes could not be higher. Because if these allegations have merit, Zambia's democratic future hangs in the balance. And if they're unfounded, they risk poisoning the well of public trust at the very moment when national unity matters most. The revelation came to light just yesterday, November 19, 2025, when Heritage Party President Kateka made a stunning declaration that has since reverberated across Zambian political circles. Her statement emerged in direct response to comments made by UPND spokesperson Cornelius Mweetwa, who had confidently asserted that President Hakainde Hichilema would win the 2026 election by a landslide margin, despite recent political turbulence. Mweetwa's confidence came on the heels of what has become known as the Chingola incident, a violent outbreak earlier this month that shook the nation. To understand the context, we must rewind to early November 2025. President Hichilema was visiting Chingola on the Copperbelt, a region historically critical to Zambian electoral politics. During what should have been a routine political engagement, violence erupted at Chiwempala Market. The presidential tent was burned. A police Land Cruiser was overturned and set ablaze. Shops were looted. Warning shots were fired. 27 youths were arrested in connection with the incident. The Chingola violence sent shockwaves through the UPND government. It was interpreted by opposition parties as evidence of growing discontent with President Hichilema's administration, particularly on the Copperbelt, which had been instrumental in bringing him to power in 2021. But the troubles didn't end there. Just days later, on November 16th, the Patriotic Front Party Secretariat in Lusaka was stormed and attacked by youths. PF acting President Given Labinda was beaten and, according to PF officials, abducted during an internal party meeting. In a startling admission that contradicted initial government denials, UPND National Youth Chairperson Gilbert Laswanaso confirmed on Hot FM that the attackers were indeed UPND youths from Kanyama who had moved, without authority. Then came another incident in Kabwe, where opposition leader Labinda was again attacked by alleged UPND cadres while conducting party business. Against this backdrop of escalating political violence and accusations of state-sanctioned intimidation, Cornelius Mweetwa attempted to project confidence, insisting the UPND would still dominate in 2026. It was this assertion that prompted Kateka's explosive response. She declared unequivocally that President Hichilema could only win the next election through rigging, arguing that on a level playing field, he stood no chance whatsoever. But Kateka's concerns extend far beyond recent violence. Throughout 2025, she has been one of the most vocal critics of the government's constitutional amendment process. In September 2024, she had called for a national indaba, demanding dialogue on the composition of the Electoral Commission of Zambia. She wrote to the Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue, copying the Minister of Justice, all political party leaders, and the ECZ chairperson, arguing that the electoral body had lost public confidence due to its composition. Then in March 2025, the UPND government released its proposed constitutional amendments, triggering intense debate across the nation. The government claimed the amendments would promote inclusivity and democratic representation. Critics, including Kateka, saw something more sinister. Let's hear directly from the key figures in this unfolding drama. Chishala Kateka's words were stark and uncompromising. "We know their games and their tricks. They are trying to push through the constitutional amendment bill because they know that without pushing that through, they can't go through. In a level playing field, Hakainde stands no chance of winning these elections. But they've done everything to skew the playing field." Her choice of words is deliberate. Skew the playing field. This is not an accusation of minor electoral irregularities. This is a claim of systematic manipulation of the democratic process itself. Earlier in September, during her call for a national indaba, Kateka had stated, "The ECZ must inspire confidence across the political spectrum." Right now, that confidence is absent. The only way to resolve this is through an inclusive national indaba where all stakeholders, political parties, civil society, faith-based groups, and the public can openly deliberate. She had outlined specific concerns in her letter to the Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue. Ensuring the neutrality, impartiality, and independence of the ECZ is paramount for credible elections. We urge discussion on the composition of the governing body of the ECZ to instill public confidence in its ability to manage the 2026 general elections fairly. On the controversial constitutional amendments, Kateka warned, "Any additional issues that could impact the freeness and fairness of the 2026 elections should also be on the agenda for discussion. This includes, but is not limited to, campaign financing, media access, and the role of security forces during the election period." From the government side, Cornelius Muitwa has maintained a defiant stance. Following the PF Secretariat attack, he stated, "Under the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema, there shall be no return to the era of caterism. Any statement from any party structure suggesting otherwise is null and void. The UPND detests political violence, and President Hichilema, as Commander-in-Chief, is determined to ensure Zambia remains a peaceful nation." Regarding the upcoming election, Muitwa expressed confidence. Despite such unfortunate incidents, the people of Zambia remain aware of the many achievements recorded under President Hichilema's administration in the past 4 years. But perhaps the most revealing testimony came from within the ruling party itself. UPND National Youth Chairman Gilbert Laswaniso, speaking on Hot FM about the attack on the PF Secretariat, admitted, "The youths from Kanyama moved without authority after attending a meeting in Chinaka. This behavior will destroy the party." This admission directly contradicted earlier government denials and raised uncomfortable questions about control and accountability within the ruling party. Meanwhile, from the opposition ranks, we heard strong condemnation. In a statement addressing the recent violence, one opposition official declared, "What happened in Kabwe is not just an attack on PF. It is an attack on the Zambian constitution, on political freedoms, and on the basic right to participate in national affairs." Father Augustine Mua, president of the National Diocesan Priests in Zambia, added his voice to the growing chorus of concern. "It will be more difficult for the UPND to campaign because people have tried them, and they know who they are. The space for freedom of speech and democracy is reducing under the current government." To understand the full weight of Kateka's accusations, we must examine the constitutional amendment controversy that sits at the heart of her concerns. The Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill No. 7 of 2025 has become one of the most contested pieces of legislation in recent Zambian history. The government presents it as a progressive step toward inclusive democracy. Opposition parties and civil society organizations see it as a power grab disguised in the language of reform. The bill proposes several significant changes. It increases constituency-based seats in the National Assembly from 156 to 211, ostensibly to implement the Electoral Commission's delimitation report. It introduces a mixed-member proportional representation system, creating new seats specifically for women, youth, and persons with disabilities. On the surface, these sound like democratic improvements, but critics point to several concerning elements. First, the bill increases the number of MPs the president can appoint from 8 to 10. More significantly, some versions of the proposal suggest removing the constitutional cap entirely, allowing Parliament itself to set this number through ordinary legislation. This would give the executive unprecedented influence over the legislature. Second, the bill removes the requirement that Parliament be dissolved 90 days before elections. This means ministers and MPs could remain in office, with access to government resources and vehicles, right up until Election Day. Third, and perhaps most controversially, there are widespread concerns that the new constituencies being created through delimitation will disproportionately favor UPND strongholds. The government's failure to release the full boundary delimitation report has prevented independent verification, fueling suspicion. The Law Association of Zambia, in June 2025, called for the entire bill to be withdrawn, citing insufficient public consultation. The Constitutional Court subsequently found the government had failed to meet constitutional requirements for public participation. President Hichilema eventually agreed to pause the process, but critics argue the damage to public trust has already been done. Professor Nick Cheeseman of the University of Birmingham analyzed the situation, noting, "The constitutional amendment bill gives the appearance of inclusivity while carefully preserving the government's incumbency advantage. Poorly designed quotas can reinforce marginalization rather than address it." International observers have also raised concerns. A UN Special Rapporteur on freedom of opinion and expression visited Zambia in January 2025 and issued a preliminary report stating, "Human rights stand at a crossroads in Zambia as the country prepares for general elections in 2026 amid major economic challenges, rising political tensions and polarization along ethnic and regional lines." The report noted that laws on criminal libel, seditious practices, insults, hate speech, and cybercrimes were being used to silence critical voices. Beyond the constitutional amendments, Kateka's concerns about the Electoral Commission of Zambia reflect a deeper institutional crisis. Under current Zambian law, commissioners are appointed by the president and subject to parliamentary approval. When the ruling party controls parliament, this creates an obvious conflict of interest. Opposition parties have repeatedly questioned the ECZ's neutrality, particularly after controversial by-election results. The Alliance for National Development and Democracy, in December 2024, described alleged rigging reports from the Kawambwa Central Parliamentary by-election as very disturbing, calling on the ECZ to address complaints with transparency and urgency. The economic context cannot be ignored either. Zambia is grappling with severe load shedding, a weakened currency, high cost of living, and the aftermath of a devastating drought. These conditions typically favor opposition parties. The UPND's need to maintain power despite economic hardship may explain, critics suggest, the aggressive push for constitutional changes that could provide electoral advantages. Political analyst perspectives vary. Some see the UPND's actions as standard incumbency behavior, arguing that every Zambian president has amended the constitution ahead of elections. Others believe we're witnessing something more troubling: the systematic erosion of democratic safeguards by a government that campaigned on transparency but now governs through intimidation and legal manipulation. The violence adds another layer of concern. When ruling party cadres attack opposition leaders with apparent impunity, when the youth chairman of the ruling party admits responsibility but faces no consequences, when police investigations repeatedly go nowhere, opposition parties understandably question whether they're competing in a fair contest. Father Mua's observation that the UPND attacks on the Catholic Church is not happening for the first time points to a pattern of intolerance toward criticism, whether from religious leaders, civil society, or opposition politicians. The international community is watching. Zambia was once celebrated as a beacon of democratic transition in southern Africa. The peaceful transfer of power in 2021 was hailed as evidence that African democracy could work. But the events of 2025 have tarnished that image. The Southern African Development Community has received letters from the Patriotic Front warning of shrinking democratic space. If the 2026 election is marred by credible allegations of rigging, Zambia risks regional isolation and economic consequences. So where does this leave Zambia as we approach what could be the most consequential election in its recent history? Tshala Kateka's explosive claim that President Hichilema can only win through rigging represents more than opposition rhetoric. It reflects a crisis of confidence in Zambia's democratic institutions. Whether her allegations are proven or not, the mere fact that a serious political figure feels compelled to make such claims indicates how far trust has eroded. The questions facing Zambia are urgent. Can the Electoral Commission restore confidence in its neutrality? Will the constitutional amendment process include genuine public participation, or will it proceed regardless of opposition concerns? Can political violence be brought under control before it escalates further? And most fundamentally, will the 2026 election be conducted on a level playing field? The answers will determine not just who governs Zambia, but whether Zambian democracy survives this critical test. Thank you for watching this edition of InspirAfrica Official. We want to hear from you. Do you believe the 2026 election will be free and fair? Are the constitutional amendments necessary reforms or a power grab? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be monitoring this story closely and bringing you updates as events continue to unfold. Until next time, this is Nakash, reminding you to stay informed, stay engaged, and never take your democracy for granted. See you in the next edition. Take care.